All right, Arzen Pirates, how's it going, guys? For me, if you guys recognize the background, this is later on in the evening I filmed, or am filming now, but the evening that we taught Athena how to speak Elvish. Yeah, I totally rocked that. And so here we are in Sacred Arbor, the Elven home. I haven't even left yet. I just did a little bit of character maintenance kind of stuff and then took care of my real life stuff. And now I'm sitting back. And unlike earlier when I was engaged in this crazy adventure we all went on and like on the edge of my seat, et cetera, and so on with my young evening's energy, now I'm kicking back in my easy chair. I do have an easy chair. Um, and I feel good. And I'm drinking tea, and the parrot's sleeping next to me, and the dog's sleeping on the front porch. Um, and so it's just a really good evening. So I just wanted to thank all of you Arzen Pirates viewers. And even though as I film this, there's only a couple of you, and maybe there'll never will be more than that in the subreddit there. Um, that's fine. It's been good to have a couple old acquaintances from former subreddits come in and contribute a few posts and comments here and there and an upvote if they like a poem or whatever. Um, as you can see, my current poetry producing schedule is looks to be about equinox solstice, where I'm at now because I just have so much visual stuff going on. I'm not actually making any sort of verbal content, so um, I basically waited the whole quarter, to accrue whatever verbal uh, uh, tools I had, and then express the just the seasonal change there in a poem. That's a great way to do it for now for me. Um, but yeah, I did notice that those of you who, of course, got here because it was going to have poetry in the forum seemed to like the poem for the spring equinox. So I was glad to see that. So this is it's a fun, cozy TV channel for me, as Isaac Asimov would describe what I'm doing now. My own private TV channel, which he predicted back in whenever on David Letterman. He was looking at the public TV channel and he already knew the private ones were going to be playing his videos. And he was like, yeah, and he just described how it would work. He just described YouTube. He just looked right at the camera and described YouTube. If you go when you go back and watch it's pretty effective. The interview, you're like, huh, like, that was good aim, dude. Uh, anyway, so I wanted to kind of have a little fun here, a nice relaxing uh, little exploration of the stage and this is going to show you some stagecraft, but also just how I think about the literary technology but this also brings you into the real experience of the story because this is what the experience is like in the piece of literature in the game Dragon's Dogma 2. Um, so there's just a couple of little things we're going to do that these all have to do with, you know, plot and what happened before and what happens next and like any this is these choices are part of the my engagement with the literature, right, to make it richer, right, as I just like I might if I were reading um some 19th century book and they made a joke or a reference to like a fairy or like uh, uh, a fey person or a hobgoblin or whatever, say it's from some European book, I would not take it amiss that the writer of that book was asking me to go use my personal time to go read up on that if I didn't know it, or to just access those memory banks if I already had that literary data, But like when they start using that fabric, if you've been studying Western literature, your whole point is to keep it up so when the characters are discussing their civilization, right, in the literary fabric that they are in, which is a book being published in that civilization, that, if you've been doing your upkeep as a literati, you're already aware of the literary fabric and the historical fabric that they're in, because that's part of the literature. Um, and so this type of ability where the game lets you engage directly, and like bring your own commentary into the literature as you experience it. And I just mean by the actions. Like, so if I weren't recording this for an audience in Arzen Pirates, I would just be building my own experience out of it, and I would still be doing it the same way because it makes my experience more vibrant, right? More vibrant. I'll just use that one word there. Um, and so the first thing we're going to do is, so you might notice that by the way, and I don't know exactly what adventures you've been off on in between, in what videos. I know there's a couple in there, you know, or in the plus, you know, I can publish videos in any order at any time, and I
You
can
might have
always
need of
change
it.
that. So who knows what you've seen before you're seeing this one.
I lack
But you might
information
notice that
pertinent
the
to this task.
NPC, the pawn Iris,
Consider hiring a pawn better apprised of such matters.
has been dismissed because she did interrupt me a lot on the stage in that last video, and I literally wasn't impressed with the performance. And so I just dismissed her without finishing her quest. So we're going to try again, and we're going to try a sorcerer again, but I personally thought the sorcerer, remember she complained about me running? You know, like, but I'm gonna try this. We don't need any quest knowledge. Let's just do that. So we're going to recruit whichever pawn goes on our next adventure here. So I'll show you the thinking of the pawn recruiting process. And basically it's, you know, what type of, first what quality of, and then what type of uh, uh, active illusion it will ALLUS. Oh yeah, that's an interesting name for a sorceress. Given the context of this, let's see what do you have a quest? Nope, you don't have a pawn quest, so that's against you. But you do have a high-level spell that zaps that. You got both the high-level spells. Maya is making an argument. Gretchen is already there because she's got a. That's the. If we're looking at, because remember this is Japanese art and literature we're inside of, but it's a Japanese take on medieval literature. So if we're going with the. By the way, has anyone noticed how Japanese do medieval English better than English, like Western video game companies can? Like whenever that they try to do like a medieval sounding accent, or word usage, that it's basically horrible and no one buys it. But like in this game, in most of the Japanese games I've played that have a medieval or a use of English that is at least affecting a medieval um, uh, aspect, it sounds good. It sounds good, right? It's like, oh yeah, they say it more naturally than I've heard them say it in the games produced by like American and British companies, for example, right? Uh, where it seems like, and this is the thing about the writers, not the speakers so much. It's like where it doesn't seem like they really have a grasp on how the language was spoken, right? Where the Japanese seem to have a grasp on how it was spoken, so they can kind of, you know, write invisible uh, like kind of like invisible cues into their writing that makes us think medieval English, you know, or think medieval speech, you know, and they do it well, so it doesn't sound bad. Um, Ash is a good name. I don't generally do the scantily clad sidekick, but there was one exception. Someone created like a 9 foot tall Amazon who had the quest I needed, and the name was funny, and they were in like the Princess Leia bikini, and it was pretty funny, I admit. I was like, well, I actually have to get that. Ooh, Bear's pretty good. What do you got, Bear? You do have a pawn quest, and you're a healer.
You can count on me to fly to your aid in your hour of need.
Oh, 10,000. So this is someone who knows how to use the pawn system, right? Because they like people who don't know how to use it will put in like 300 gold, right? And
Master.
they're not making the pawn system more vibrant by doing that, as I explained in an earlier video on the nature. The video was called "Some Thoughts on Pawn Civilization." So who was the other one that I really liked was Gretchen, I think, right? Catherine's funny because it's like a big tiger dude. Come on, okay, Gretchen. So what's your quest?
My talents lie in combining materials.
See, so
and I use those in my possession.
I'm actually researching the effect Okay, so 2,000 gold for defeating a Cyclops. That's not unreasonable. They might be low on gold, and it's really easy to defeat a Cyclops once you're over like a certain level, you know. So that's not a huge strike against them, but it is. Now they do have a logistician, which I find to be a very useful specialization. Calm inclination is pretty handy for a sidekick. Okay,
Halflings.
that's pretty good. And in the name I like a lot in the context of medieval folklore, right? The name is really good. Um, oh yeah, there's Maya too.
I am attentive and loyal, and prefer to remain by your side. In
Yeah, yeah.
battle, I shall follow your lead and prioritize.
See, right here, I'm not taking this one because this person is too lazy to set a pawn quest, right? So they're too lazy to offer me some gameplay, right? So even if their vocation is good and they've got good skills, which they do, right? Very good. Everything looks good. Oh, nope, they don't have augments either. No, yeah, they do. Okay, it's like this. Yeah. Well, they've only got 4. So this person is on the is lower level, right? Uh, their sorcerer's max. They don't have too much other experience. But that's the thing is like the character is definitely functional, can fight. Like it can serve its role as in the group. It can serve its role, but it can't serve its role the literary use I have for my pawns. So they are not bringing vibrancy into the game. In fact, they aren't even doing the basic thing, which is just leaving it at something silly with a silly reward or whatever, or a default reward. But they have instead offered up something that literally neglects to use one of the main features of the pawn system. And so, as someone who's a part of this larger effort of
Support.
giving ourselves a collective literary experience, right? I'm going to choose the pawn named Bear, right? And then I'll discuss kind of my thoughts on that. And that is because of the difference in if this one had 10,000, I would go with Gretchen, right? Because it's the people that have realized that you see what happens is if you offer a reward of 10,000 gold, right? And you put your pawn up here. Yeah, we're going Bear.
I pray my efforts aid your cause.
I'll give it a second out though. And you put your pawn in here. What happens is 10 people can take it and do the quest, and they each make 10,000 gold, right? Except the person who created Bear here, who made the quest, only pays 10,000 one time, right? And so what some of us who are really good at figuring out how to communicate and use this game properly and functionally realized is that you can basically make gold out of nothing if you're smart enough to just go around only taking $10,000 gold quests and only giving $10,000 gold quests, right? And so everyone's making money, right? We're using the game at the like they gave us these features in order to be creative with them, and we're just using them at their highest level of functionality, right? And the effect of it is that in our entire multiverse, we are literally printing gold out of thin air together and laughing about it, right? And so as a part of Japanese, the writers and creator, because this has to do with the mechanism of the game too. It's not just the people writing the dialogue, it's the people designing the mechanism of the game are part of the literary creation team here, right? It's like the person like Cervantes who designed what a novel would look like, was as much 99% of his innovation was how he wrote it, and what he wrote, like in like that, and then the contents of it, of course, are good, but they're in the process of doing the same thing. Their creativity is fueling this innovation of the game because it has to innovate that much to express their actual literary offerings, right? These people are artists who are making such good art that they have to get creative in gameplay design in order to express it, right? And that's the proof in the pudding right here is at the very top of this medieval game experience, they've literally concealed alchemy right in front of everyone's face, and anyone who can see it can recognize it and learn to use it, and it's totally invisible. Look at all these pawns that don't even have quests. And then like, let's see what Wellington
Very
here
well.
has.
I shall lend you my aid.
They want, oh wow. Oh, and look at this. I found, do you see what this is? This is someone who, this is a philanthropist. I just happened upon a real philanthropist in the game. This is someone who's mastered it so well. Like, as I'm at the early stages of the game, I haven't started the main quest, and I'm like advanced people I think are like level like 80 to 100 now, and I'm like 30 something, right? Well, Wellington here is only level 38. Wow, that's something to think about. But this is someone who has really done well, and what they're doing with their resources here is they're giving you a pawn, and I have to give this pawn like a potion that costs like 40 gold, and in return I get 12 pieces of expensive of a gem, right, that sells for a ton of money. And so he's putting this up, and do you know how many people are going to use his pawn because he figured out how to do this? In fact, I'm going to go switch Athena's right now. That's really smart. Look at how smart that is. That's the thing, though, is I'm actually trying to it's probably less than 10,000, but it's the exchange rate that's crazy. Because all you have to do is like hire it and then give it the thing and then dismiss it, right? But so anyway, see, look at all these ones that have none. See how fun that guy is? Like, now, you know what I have to do? Because I'm not going to turn that down. Like, you can't turn that down. I hope I have one of my... Oh, well, I would just have to back out and come back in. So what I'm going to do now is, because I'm sticking with Bear, right? And this is the work you have to put in the background.
In your hour of need, Master.
I'm going to
Knowing one of
favorite
these
him,
curatives is my speciality.
right? Oh, and I haven't hired him yet. Good. So I favorited him, and he's going to... So we're going to go with Wellington here, and we're going to
Pleased to make your acquaintance.
show you how this is working. Dude.
Let us work together to...
Yeah, let's work together. Come on with me. Come out here. Yeah, let's work together. Right?
This rumor has been troubling me ever since I first caught wind of it.
This is very... Did I drown?
There is an illness we pawns can catch beyond the rift that makes us a danger to ourselves and others.
It's true. How scary is that?
Symptoms include an unruly attitude and overconfidence, and in the end, we turn our backs on our master and our duty.
Yep, I've heard of that too.
How terrible. We shall have to be alert for signs of the sickness among our number.
And somehow, right here live with you guys, I found the first glitch I found. And I have apparently drowned and can't get out of it. So what we're going to do is go to title screen and then reload from the last save. And it's no big deal if that doesn't work, if it drowns me, because then I can reload from the last in instead. So nothing's lost. It's just unfortunate that happened in the middle of filming, but no big deal. Sometimes you get a book and there's like 3 pages missing, you know, or like half of one page
I'm unfamiliar with
is
the
like
matter
erased.
at hand. Perhaps we should have a more knowledgeable pawn join our party.
Oh, it's okay. We're not
I enjoy tackling fierce foes and prefer combat's thrills to gathering.
we're not gonna bother you too much, Wellington. We got another pawn coming that we want to use. So your master, Wellington, is a genius, because this is really fun.
Elelote and Osto Silfa Malantha Alecano Mi. Ne in fair Avehum. Sinde fil arenka.
All right, come on over here, team.
Is this a challenge, Arisen, to see who can keep pace?
No time
Jeez,
to catch your breath. Try to keep up.
are all sorcerers that lazy? All right, so
Akayel arume fa in iteron.
first I'll show you 175 gold.
Etele elfinantai.
Now I'm gonna come over here, and this
Non
is
lia tilmo.
oh, I didn't know you had wares. Oh my. Good to know. Thanks.
Jarmen ran soron.
Sorry, Eldhard, I hadn't talked to you. I hadn't spoken with you yet. No!
Damun. Ronde Minotaur.
Yeah, Ronde Minotaur indeed. All right, come over here, Wellington. I want to talk to you without that creepy elf interjecting.
Nothing's coming to me, Master. My master from beyond the rift seeks that very item.
I received the 12 onyx instantly from the game. The game just printed 12 of those to give to me.
Akayel
Right.
Kalawin Nunli Arama. Arume fa in Iterond, Etele
800 each times 12. 9,600 gold. He just gave me as much as I pay people to go out and kill one of those Cyclops.
Eldalia Nu in Lalasta.
Do you know
Purchases to be
how
made today, I
quickly
see. I
players...
just hope the shopkeep understands.
Browsing was enough to scratch the itch. In
Oh,
my
I think
case.
it's fine. They're going to get a lot of business in this very grove, and it's the elves who get this from me because they're the ones who did the best job protecting their part of the environment in this entire. It is a disaster out there, people. Like, there's some really nice like seaside fishing villages; those are all nice. But other than
Place
that,
to
it's like a
harvest some
disaster in
ingredients.
this world, and the
Get
elves
some
are the
now
only ones who have
and
kept
use
it
them when the
together.
need arises.
All right, like it was that quick. I just made 9,000 gold, right? And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna favorite Wellington, and so I'm gonna keep doing this with this person. Do you know how quickly a network of players like myself and this other fellow who or gal who figure out how to play like this from inside the game without communicating to each other? We figure this out from the game itself, right? Do you know how quickly we can we can spread our wealth throughout the entire actual world we live in, including all the pawns we recruit? They will all be getting like top level gear now, from now on when they leave. When they visit us, we're getting them stuff that they can't afford down in their games, because we're printing money using alchemy in a video game. It's insane. This is an insane thing. I don't have a good gift. So, oh yeah. I'm going to give him my wolf cape. That is the best gift I could give this person. Because remember, I exchanged my wolf cape for the elven cloak. And now I'm passing the mantle. Just like that. There you go. And a heart.
The time of our parting is come. Thank you for everything, Arisen.
And I still made a profit. That cape was probably only worth like 4,000 or 5,000 at the most. Right? And then, since we already found a pawn that hit everything we kind of wanted at the moment, it's funny. My favorite pawn was the first one I worked with, Mr. Business, and I gave him like all of my wealth at the time. And I was like, I'm going to use Mr. Business forever. And then he never leveled past 10. And I've never been able to play with him again. So that's my favorite. That's the favorite for hire pawn I have is Mr. Business, because that's the best name. But then you can see it. I've gone through and chosen an assortment for quests, but most of my favorite list is obviously you can see the clear literary allusions in there, except for Wellington. This is an economic one, Yeah, just like that. Uh, so bear, summon pawn, and now we'll recruit bear. All right.
You can count on me to fly to your aid in your hour of need, Master. Knowing when to use curatives is my speciality.
Yep. And you know how to use a quest properly, right? Which I already demonstrated. That is how to use a quest properly. The other way was genius. This is what a lot of players have figured out. This is what builds a good in-game economy for all of us, right? For all of us and all of our pawns, we will be safer. We will have better gear, and the peasants in our separate worlds will be safer and happier because of it, right? That's what this is. What the other guy discovered, well, it remains to be seen the consequences of that. I'm sure it will take at least several weeks, if not months, for the effect something like that to proliferate through the entire literary multiverse of Dragman's Dogma. Whether it's people who are making content out of it or just experiencing it on their own. You know, they're all part of it's all part of the same multi-cosmos. Just like technically this is video game content I'm making. I'm just using literary analysis to describe how to play a video game, right? So these days, when like I'm 45, I'm a Gen Xer. I'm coming back to video games after a long break, and I'm going to enjoy them, just like this. And so, you know, maybe there's several hundred more Gen Xers are in my exact same pair of Crocs right now. You know, and this is how we want to look at the games, and this is how we learn how to play the games. You know, so technically, I'm a part of that video game content creation part. You know, but that's all I'm saying is I'm bringing just a literary tool set to it. You know, but think about that entire effect that the game has like that through all these different channels and creative channels that it can go through and is going through, as like demonstrably we've seen it going through. um, Pretty fun. And then so to be able to look at how I just figured out what that guy did was he just like with this guy I still have to go defeat a Cyclops, so I have to take his pawn along, and his pawn, this is why I do it this way too, his pawn becomes a part of my story. Like Wellington became a part of my story because it delivered a piece of knowledge that was like super important and that I will now continue utilizing, right? For the sake of my local peasants in the lands I travel through on foot. You know, every time I'm entertaining myself and have time to sit down, right? Um, uh, but Bear here, because I have to take him on the and it might be a whole afternoon of playing before you meet a Cyclops, or you might meet 5 in a row, or you know, depends on what you're doing. But so that means this person becomes, and this is why when I choose these, I choose ones that have some sort of, generally, if I can, literary value in the name, because then if I want to film a video about anything I'm doing, it's there, right? Or I can use that name as a cue to what style of like literary illusion to be thinking in, that is literally, so that illusion has been, you know, sent by the creator of the pawn, right? This guy likes the word bear, and I like that. And like you know, as a folklorist, I love just having straight animal stuff in it. You know, like that's cool. You know, and I like bears. I live around bears. You know, it's fact it's April. It's April 1st, right? Which means that I have to think about bears all the time now, right? Like that's the time of year it just became, um, which is good. But and that's, you know what, that determines all of my activity in April usually, right? Is getting ready for bear and moose season because they'll be much more active and around here. And then and that's why you use it for April, because it's rainy and you're still inside most of the time and it's chilly out and there's wet snow on the ground and mud, you know. But you want to be outside all the time as soon as it gets sunny in May, right, or whenever. And so you spend you spend a couple weeks like making sure the whole cabin's bear proof so you can go away for the whole day, for example, which you didn't do all winter, you know. But you want to make sure you can leave at 7 a.m. and come back at 7 p.m. or whatever, and not have to worry about some bear problem at any hour of that it passes through uninhabited, right? Which is just a different way of organizing your household, right? So it's just got to change a little bit. And so you make those changes, and then by the time, you know, it's sunning out all day long, and and nice and everything's green, you know your house is bear and moose proofed, and you've got back in the habit of thinking about bear and moose enough, um, et cetera and so on. So uh, having a bear along on an experience where it's like I'm getting to show a bear what it's like living around a bear, right? I mean, that's just at the heart. It's that simple, you know. Doesn't have to be any funnier than that. But yeah, we'll take you, bear.
Are you fit to travel? Then let's not dawdle.
Oh, I'd like that attitude much better than those lazy sorcerers. Yeah, good job, bear. All right. So that was step one, was recruiting bear, right? Um, Step two is we're going to proliferate. We're going to respond in the illusion itself to the creator of Gandalf. Oh, sorry, Taliesin just interrupted me. Because remember, this was Cervantes' archer quest, so he's about to get his reward for being. I'll take that. I'll take that to heart, Taliesin. Hunter's Secret. It teaches you a skill, your most powerful skill, called Heavenly Shot. All right. We don't need to equip that now because we're
I
not
lack
fighting
information
anybody.
pertinent to this task.
But we might as well.
Consider hiring a pawn better apprised of such matters.
Oh no, Gandalf. You just have memory loss. You've been doing this multi-dimensional thing too much. You have memory loss. You're definitely helpful on this quest, right? You were the most helpful one on this quest for sure, and we're about to take care of you. I used all my explosive arrows anyway, so we'll put that in there. Yeah, thank you. All right, Gandalf. And so this is what we're going to do, is we're going to respond. So Gandalf was the greatest thing ever. Like, that was a total surprise. Like,
foreign to me.
I hadn't
Yet from their
pre-picked
manner,
him.
I gather they are a proud people.
The elves are a people worth befriending, if we can but find a way to soften their hearts.
Spoken like a true bear. Anyway, Gandalf was not a pawn that I'd found earlier in like pre-chosen for the role. He just appeared right before I was going to do this teaching Elvish thing, which, like I pointed out, with a name like Gandalf isn't that uncommon. It's not even that surprising at all. It was just like the timing was so awesome that you know, this is like, I definitely want to thank the creator of this pawn and make him a favorite that I will obviously continue to use as long as I have access to, for the sake of the continuing the illusion in the story that we've started here already in the Sacred Arbor. So there's a thing you can do where you can buy new gear and better gear for your pawns, for your borrowed pawns, and then what happens is it replaces what they brought with them. And this Gandalf is wearing a very high quality robe, by the way, very high quality. I'm very impressed with that robe. It's awesome. Maybe a little bit. Well, maybe this is the Japanese take. I was going to say it's maybe a little dark and ornate for Gandalf, but maybe Japanese Gandalf looks just like that, right? And so, but what I can do is I can buy him upgrades, and then his gear goes back to his owner, so I don't get to keep it. So it's not like I'm stealing his clothes or getting any benefit from it. But then the piece that I'm replacing will go back to him, and then he will get to keep the piece I get him as a gift, right? And so what I'm getting here, this is my own resources I'm investing in that, and I'm getting him, I'm responding in kind, right? Yes. There you go. And then, so the idea, I don't know what happened. I wasn't paying attention. I thought I had all the gold lined up. We also want this, which is 13,000. And so I'm going to sell something. I don't know if I didn't bring anything to sell. Ah. I can get that much real easy. Oh, I don't really need any of those rings. Some of them are useful for my characters, but...
In Lalastar.
Our packs are heavier, and our purses far lighter.
These were necessary
Right.
expenses, mind. No use clinging to every last coin.
I agree. I agree. But so, this is my way of responding to... Well, in one level, this is just a Lord of the Rings fan recognizing, you know, another Lord of the Rings fan. Let's just get some random stuff that'll be worth something. I don't remember if any of these are necessary for me. Oh, I got 2 of those? Yeah, that's going. That's going. That's going. Yeah, what do I need that for? Don't need it. Don't need it. Don't need it. All right. Yep, come on. All right. Man, it's like I'm just walking around taking you shopping with me. You know, good thing I've got a long track record of going through my day and making videos about it. So if anyone says, well, your stuff's really boring, I'll be like, well,
Let's see. What can we do without?
well, at least I've established myself as a master of boring content then. I've a very long track record of the exact same kind of boring content behind me. So no surprise there, right? No surprise. All right.
Vindamun.
All right.
Akaya Arumefa in Itarond.
Do, 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 do. You know, those ones are quest items, and I do have 2, but I don't know that I won't ruin one. All right, now here we're getting so that was the communication back. This is what I think of your Gandalf, and I dropped a pointy hat on his head. But then this is a record of what he did when he came here, right? I'm giving him a cloak. I'm sending him home with a cloak from Lothlorien on, to a creator who in his world has not been to Lothlorien yet. You see? That's real, right? That's real. That's what I'm doing with this cape. I'm sending Gandalf home with a pointy hat on and a cloak from Lothlorien to someone who is obviously a Lord of the Rings fan. And when he sees this and then goes on that adventure himself, he will know that his Gandalf was already there with a fan of Lord of the Rings. Because obviously it's going to be fans of Lord of the Rings that choose to use this motherfucker's pawn, which is why he named it like that. Right? That is the best pawn name that there is. And I'm just glad that I found a little space in here for Athena. You know, but that is the best pawn name that there is, right? In my opinion. And so here we go. Yep.
At noon, where in Lalastar?
All right. Let's here we go, Gandalf. Now I could put him in like a more poor robe, but I'm not going to, because I have to take him around Cyclops, and that motherfucker earned that robe, and it's a way nicer robe than any of the ones I have access to right now. So Gandalf is not going to go around defenseless just because he's dimension hopping, right? No, he's like, I'm going to use the best armor that I have and I brought with me just because I knew this would happen when a bunch of you scrubs started seeing my name and recruiting me after not having equipped any of your mages or sorcerers properly, right? Because obviously it's melee players that are recruiting the mage pawns and people who don't have mage pawns. Okay, so there we go. We got Bear, Gandalf with his pointy hat and his Lothlorien cloak. We met Wellington, received an economic lesson. Everyone sees that the alchemy in the game is the same as it was in the real medieval times. So I'd say that's pretty spot on. Japan and Capcom particularly. I don't know who to thank or who to compliment, but it's the people who created this piece of literature, right? So they're in your house. Go tell them that they did really good, in my opinion. But I mean, who am I? I just got like one viewer or two viewers or something, right? Who cares about me? Um, but so then this is the other thing we're going to do is this idea came to me because there's no way to there's no transport stone here. So by paying 10,000 gold a pop, you can actually warp to a home location, to a place with a specific piece of technology. And there isn't one in here because it's just this kind of remote area. It's not a big city. Like those are for big cities. But earlier today, I killed a griffin and I earned a crystal that I can plant here.
With the port crystal placed, we'll be able to use a ferry stone to return here in an instant.
And you know what? This is really how you do it.
I'm afraid I'm unfamiliar with the matter at hand.
That
Perhaps
didn't
we
look
should
right.
have a more
It has to be
knowledgeable
more
board
over
or-
here. But so for the entire time I play this game,
in our party.
depending on story, like if the game designers do something that prevent this from happening, what if an asteroid hits Lothlorien here? This is my home. That doesn't look right either. All right, more. When you're making content out of this, I mean, this is literature, so it has to look right. Oh man. You know what? It's going right where my feet are, isn't it? That's where it's going. So we're gonna put it right. We're gonna try it right here. Sorry, with only my attention half on what I'm doing, I couldn't, like, this wouldn't take me 4 tries usually. There we go. So, throughout the continuing, and this isn't a literary commentary that ever has to end. Dragon's Dogma, like any book, like I can continue quoting and referring to War and Peace for as long as I fucking want to, right? 3 years down the road, I can crack War and Peace open again and comment on another scene, and then it can go right alongside all of my other commentary about War and Peace over the years, right? And so as long as I'm in here and the game developers don't prevent me from doing so, this is the home base of my team. And as we go save the peasants from their corrupt leaders in the realm that we're currently in, and fend off dragons and cyclops and griffins and etc., we will make our home base here with the elves. This is what we came here to do. Cervantes, Bear, Athena, and Gandalf are the team we've assembled at the moment. I think it's safe to say Gandalf's going to be a fixture. For as long as his own dimension stays active. If his universe collapses and he disappears, I can't do anything about that, right? So it puts some oomph behind it. Appreciate the time we have with Gandalf, you know. Anyway, this is our home base, right? And everywhere else we have to walk. And that's how I'm going to learn how to play the game so well from the inside, that if I continue doing this and playing at a certain rate until I've like gone over the entire content of the game like 3 or 4 times, at that point then I can set it down. But anytime I pick it up to make a video, the whole stage will be alive to me because I'll have trained myself on this stage, right? So as a video performer doing literary commentary and videos, we're building the pocket universe that has the proper literary dimensions to contain literary commentary. And the way we're doing it is by we're starting with literary commentary right from the inside that teaches us how to play the game. So it gives us the most literary experience, which is the best gaming experience. That's the most bang for your $70. Oops. Don't draw your bow in the elvish town, silly. I accidentally hit the trigger right when I said bang for the buck. That and I'm saying that for the gamers out there who are looking at this differently or in an economic sense, where I say, I invested in this literary resource, this piece of literature, right? So I can, if I go out and pay $400 for like some arcane edition of Rob Lay, I am going to get my $400 out of that, right? By bringing by finding every niche and cranny of literary content and literary study that text allows. Because like how much does a book like Rob Lay show about the world? Like Gargantua Panagirl, I just refer to it as Rob Lay. How much does a book like that, does literature like that show us about the world that Rob Lay lived in? And how much does this piece of literature, Dragon's Dogma, show us about the world we live in? Right? Like I'm going to find out. Like how much of the literature did they get in there? Because the literature is always built like that. Yeah. Anyway, this is how this is how I interact with any piece of literature, and so I'm applying this process to the process of using and learning how to use Dragon's Dogma for literary commentary itself. Yeah, and if some people aren't getting their $70 worth out of this art object, this might not be the right art object for you, but it's the right art object. This game is fun, right? This game is real fun. It allows you to get as much out of it as you put into it. And so the way literature works is that's all that happens. Right? And so lots of people can put lots of different things into it and get lots of awesome results. But then the people who study literature and use literature to study literature can just click it together and show, oh yeah, this is a part of the same literary mechanisms that have been there the whole time. Like look, it sinks in, and then it does all this new stuff. Like the people who made this have created new types of literary mechanisms we haven't seen before. And they've obviously learned them just by observing the contemporary world that we all live in together. And like think of how many lessons we've gotten about our separate cultures via the medium of video games, but not just that, but via the economic trade that is required to make them possible. Right? And so I'm just pointing at these sort of literary changes and economic changes and historical changes it's a repeating cycle. It's a phenomenon that happens when technology jumps a lot at once, and it looks different depending on what environment you're in. But like the fact that we're right at the cusp of this particular one, and especially since my special field of focus has been Chinese literature for a long time, and obviously my literary commentary career is based on my study of Zen text, and has been, that's what I did for many years before I came over here to Our Zen Pirates. Especially just like keeping that Sorry, I just wanted to get a part of that soundscape in there, because that's what I was hearing. Because as I record, I have a headset that has this brilliant audio system. I'm totally encapsulated in the environment, and I realized that this is what I'm drawing from the stage, and that's like, and I wanted to like just focus on those sounds for a minute. But so and that's what I'm saying, is to keep in mind that like the innovation of paper and ink that was easy to get everyone's get into everyone's hands, as well as the printing press and the development of books obviously happened right smack in the center, and then basically all throughout, in a longer sense, the history of the Chan and Zen communities in China. And so all I'm saying is that their literature was created at a time similar to the change ours is being created in. And for anyone who's lived through our times and looks at their times and reads their history in their books, we can see, we can see in the history of the Chan communities themselves this process of change from that sutra bearing book reading, transmitting, worshiping, and in some cases, civilization that had come over with that technology, and then how it changed and adapted into the literary technology that China had, and then what we see is the resulting when the technological change itself came along, is what happened is we get to see the process of the translation of literature from one old technology into a new technology. And it's interesting because the Zen communities and Zen literature itself straddles that change, and so it's like the Zen masters, it's like they do understand the whole thing, right? Because they stood and had the ability to observe over time as Zen communities all these processes for hundreds of years, right? And so it's no wonder that what they're most famous for is being able to cut right through all bullshit, right? Because that's the effect that observing that would be like, oh, this is, oh, okay, all right, yeah. And so when you see something like a forum that was for book readers who had read books and wanted to come discuss books, in front of your eyes suffer a very aggressive colonization of people who just want to print lots of translations using their new modern tools that are good for passing around, office spaces. It's pretty delightful. It's pretty delightful to watch, isn't it? Like overall, and you can just laugh and be like, yeah, that's you don't get more in the thick of it than that, and then that we live at such a dynamic time where the same publishing platform offers a video stage, and so you have in parallel people who have arrived at this point in literacy from different directions, people who are going different directions in literacy, in literary technology, but we're all part of one civilization still. I think it's pretty cool. But yeah, I think literary commentary is going to do way better over here because obviously the book readers are the game players, like I pointed out. And I know I'm just going on body language, but that body language has a specific signature in literature, I feel. And I think they're all over here making and enjoying literature like this and not talking to computers. Peace. I hope you guys had fun.